So to graph a linear inequality, it's a lot like graphing a linear equation. Notice the difference in the sign. We don't have an equal sign anymore, but it's the same idea. So we're going to take 2x minus 3y. This is less than 15. And so we want to get y by itself, just like before. So we're going to subtract that 2x from both sides. 2x's are gone. So I have negative 3y coming down is less than. Do not combine the x with the 15, so we'll just list them. Negative 2x plus 15. And then we're going to divide by negative 3 to clear that out and get the y all by itself. Now one of the tricks with inequalities is when you divide by a negative, you flip the sign. Okay, you might want to write that down. You divide by a negative, flip the sign. So my less than sign is going to flip to a greater than sign. And everything else is just like normal solving. So there's negative 3 is canceled, the y is by itself. The negative 2 divided by negative 3 is going to make a double negative, so it's going to be a positive 2/3 x. And then positive 15 divided by negative 3 is negative 5. So there's my solved inequality for y. And now I can go ahead and graph that. So when you graph the inequality, it's very similar to graphing an equation with just a couple differences. So I'm going to put negative 5 for the y-intercept. And then my slope is 2 over 3. So I go up 2 and then to the right 3. I'm going to do that pattern again, up 2, right 3, just to have 3 dots. So then before you draw your line, check your sign. Okay, so this sign is less than. It is not equal to. So if it's not equal to, you will not draw a solid line. So if it's not equal to, then you will draw a dashed line. If it is equal to, then you draw a solid. If it's not, you draw a dashed line. And there we go. So there's my line. Then the other thing you got to think about, are we above or below the line? So this says y is greater than, it says y is greater than this stuff. It doesn't matter what's over here, y is bigger than it. So if it's greater than, you're going to shade everything above the line. If it were less than, then you would shade below, but greater than, you're shading above. So you just shade in everything above the line. And that's the solution. The solution is this, everything that's shaded. So the shading is the solution. Okay? So if it's greater than, you shade above. So greater than, you shade above. If it's less than, you shade below. If it's not equal to, it's dashed. If it's equal to, then it's solid. So for number 2, okay, this is a less than or equal to sign. So this is going to be solid. Your line is going to be a solid line. And since it's a less than, and I'm not going to flip the sign because the 2 is positive, you're going to shade below. Okay, less than, shade below, greater than, shade above. Equal to, solid line, not equal to, dashed line. So that's the idea there. If you have a system of inequalities, you just graph 2 at the same time, just like system of equations. So I'm going to take this one over here. 3x plus 2y is greater than 4. I'm going to solve this for y, subtract the 3x. So So I have 2y is greater than negative 3x plus 4. And then I'm going to divide everything by the 2 that's in front of the y. Now my 2 is positive, so I'm not going to flip the sign. So I have y is greater than negative 3 over 2x. 4 divided by 2 is positive 2. Okay, so I'm going to solve the second one before I go to graph things. So I have x minus y is less than or equal to 3. So I want to solve this for the y, so I'm going to subtract the x. Subtract x on both sides. I've got negative y is less than or equal to negative x positive 3. And then I divide by the negative 1 to get the y a positive, which is going to flip my sign. Dividing by a negative flips the sign, so that's going to make it greater than or equal to. Negative divided by a negative is a positive x, and then positive 3 divided by negative 1 is a negative 3. So now I'm going to graph both of these lines. Okay, I've got the blue line up here and the red line. So I'm going to graph the blue line first. It starts at positive 2. Okay, I'm graphing this one first. Positive 2, and then goes negative 3, positive 2. So I got down 3, and then right 2. I can continue that pattern. Down 3, right 2. I can go backwards that pattern. Up 3, left 2. Now this is going to be a dashed line, right? Because it's not equal to. So this is a dashed line. So put my dashed line through there. And then I'm going to graph the second one before I do any shading. I guess let's talk about the shading first. We would shade above for this line, right? I'm going to shade above. But that'll depend where exactly we shade depends on where the second one goes. So the second one, the red line, I'm going to graph this one red. It's going to be a solid line, and it's going to shade above because it's a greater than. So I'm going to start at negative 3, get my dots on here. The slope is 1 over 1. So go up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. So there's my line. I'm going to draw my solid line through there. Okay, so there's my solid line. Now I'm going to shade above the red line and above the blue line. Okay, now if the blue line wasn't there, above the red line would be everything above that, right? And above the blue line would be everything above there. So the only actual solution to this is where they overlap. So where I shaded both. So I'm going to shade that with black. It's going to shade everything in this section here. So that would all get shaded. And I should not shade these parts here. So I'm going to erase anything that's not shaded. If I'm graphing this, I would just only shade where it's supposed to be shaded. Okay. Let's do one more here. So we got x minus y is less than 2, so I'm going to subtract the x. Got negative y is less than negative x plus 2. Divide by the negative 1. Remember, that's going to flip your signs. So it's going to give me a positive y, flip the sign, positive x, negative 2. So then the second one, got x plus 3y is less than 6. So I'm going to subtract the x. It's going to give me 3y is less than negative x plus 6. And then I'm going to divide by 3. So everything's going to get divided by 3. I have y is less than negative 1/3 x plus 2. 1 comes from in front of the x there. Okay, so now I got my two equations, and now I can graph them. So the blue line starts at 2, goes down 1, and to the right 3. We're up 1 and to the left 3. And what about the line? The line is dashed and is less than, so I'm below. So draw my dashed line through there. Okay, so I would shade below, but since I've got the red line to deal with, let's put them on there first. So I have -2, going up 1, right 1. So there's my red line. This one is dashed as well, and it's greater than, so it's going to be above. So I'm going to put my dashed line. Okay, so I want to be above the red line and below the blue line. Okay, so above and below. So everything below the blue line and above the red line would show up. I guess I'll do that in a different color right here. So you want to shade all the way to the red line, all the way to the blue line, and everything in between. Okay, you're above the red line and below the blue line.